Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is for you right now. Hope you are doing what you need to do. It is post-Christmas, 26th of December in 2022. It is Adam here from Change Activated. As I activate change in my own life, I've chosen to share. Mostly because when I look back, then it makes it more real. But I was going to talk today about going your own way, which is sometimes a difficult thing, because if we're searching for support and we're not around people that know how to support, and we don't know how to support ourselves, then it can be quite difficult. So I'm going to tell you about my experience, if that's okay. I have felt quite unsupported for my whole life, as I feel like my parents were doing the best of what they had, but they just didn't know how to look outside the realms of what they knew, and without the trust in themselves to explore something different. I think they find it quite hard to see when people are doing things differently to them. And I had a very, very interesting experience yesterday. Hadn't spoken to my mum for quite a while, and decided to, or actually no, not decided to. I had a beautiful phone call with a guy, Curtis Tofar. If you guys aren't following him on Instagram, please do it, because he's an absolute legend in coming back to the simplicity of what it is that's causing that aching and disease inside our body, which is basically got come around and asked the question, what am I not looking at? And he basically took some time with me to get me to a point where he just said, basically, you should call your mum and say thank you. And in knowing that that was causing me a lot of heartache in my life, I did it. And realizing as we increase our emotional intelligence and remove ourselves from a situation and become more objective and understand the implications on our life of us not moving on, is that thank you is not an absolute. It's not saying, thank you for fucking making me feel like shit, but then it's also saying thank you for making me feel like shit. So what's the drawback of getting support from your family? You don't get the chance to support yourself no matter what. So saying thank you in that situation is finding that little drive to say thank you for allowing me in a situation where I had to back myself. So I called my mum and said thank you so much for allowing me to become the person that I have become, which was quite a difficult thing for me, because it was quite emotional and I felt it quite deep down in my stomach, and I knew that I was doing the right thing for me. And then I was met with a few different responses from my mum. She said, I'm crying now, that's a bad thing. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you for also showing me why I berate myself for getting emotional. Emotions, I believe, are so beautiful because they allow us to access all parts of what we're experiencing. And there is no such thing as good or bad. And also, if we're waiting for someone to say I'm proud of you and they just don't have that capacity without us expressly asking for it, then they're doing the best of what they got. So how can I be proud of me in that circumstance? And then the sort of third driver there was, how can I show up for others how I was not shown up for? So the beautiful thank you there is giving me the capacity to reach out to others and sort of have that empathy and compassion, doing what needs to be done, empathy, putting yourself in someone else's situation so you can take the time to feel it, sympathy, sitting outside of someone's situation and being an absolute fucking prick and thinking that you know better. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. No one is here to be felt sorry for, because that puts us in less of a position of power, and therefore we are weak. Or say weak in the regard of we're not looking at our situation and going, how can I better serve myself? So, and don't get me wrong, that state of mind as a person, as a human, as a meat sack is good for a period of time so we can understand what it is that we're actually working on, but also not a good place to stay in forever, which is what I notice in my family. So if I see it, then I'm obviously being it, right? So I look at my family and I'm like, I love you, and also I see some things in you that I see in me, and I no longer choose to allow those patterns in my life. So as long as we're enabling things in ourselves, we'll probably enable things in others. And then the massive shake-up inside might be the fact that we're taking notice and taking stock, and also taking responsibility for those things that we don't like in ourselves. So yesterday I was sitting with my beautiful niece, or two nieces, and my sister, my mum and my stepdad. Hadn't been to my mum's house for quite a long time, and starts off beautifully because we're like, oh, hello, Christmas, everyone talking, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, when everyone starts to get tired and full and you're sitting around, and then everyone starts to, you know, that little bit of friction comes out. I noticed the pattern in my family due to my niece, my eldest niece, choosing to not go back to school next year, was basically, quick, seek safety, there's not enough here, lack. As I was sitting there with her and saying, you can do whatever you'd like to do, sweetheart. And the comment was made about me, which still makes me a little bit angry / sad / whatever that is inside that comes up, about you've got to be an adult. Now, everyone has a different idea of what that looks like, and my idea is obviously different to what my parents looks like and what my sisters looks like, because my niece expressed interest in working in the mental health realm, and my sister then began to tell her that she doesn't study enough, she will never get there, fucking blah. I saw the same patterns in what my mother did for me, which is basically say, hey Adam, you got to back yourself right now, because I don't even think I have the capacity to understand what you're trying to achieve, so I'm going to just hold you where you are just so it doesn't make me uncomfortable, which is obviously a very selfish standpoint, from a point where people don't actually understand that there are implications of them putting their own views onto things. So as I watched the pattern play out in front of me, it was quite easy to stand back from an objective perspective, and I was like, oof, what do I accept in this situation? How do I show up? You know, especially with the frustration that comes along, it's easy to react and tell people they're fucking stupid. But instead I chose to engage a little bit and you know, change the perspective, and I just said, what does being an adult look like to you? Paying your bills, getting a job, being safe. The question in my head, which I wasn't quite willing to ask because it was Christmas Day and my family don't really have the ability to discuss. They love to yell, which is why I probably don't engage in many conversations. There's obviously something inside me that's afraid of that, so I'll step towards that as I get more comfortable. But the question in my head was, who taught you that you need safety? And who taught you the process of safety? And why do you keep choosing to play that game of safety? Because I know for a fact that my mum is not happy. Her body is breaking down. She said the other day she hates where she lives. She doesn't like that my stepdad is always away and doing what he loves because he chooses to. And then my sister is constantly struggling. And I just look at them and go, how the fuck can you tell anybody else how to live? Firstly, no one's here to tell you how to live. Ask good questions, show some support. Critical thinking, which is basically looking objectively and saying, how can we, you know, how's this going to work? How can we do this? Not this fucking cutting you down because I'm scared of what you're doing. I'm jealous of you. You know? So my sister said something yesterday about not liking Adele, and I said, is it because she's so much more talented than you and applies herself to her field? Adele the singer, absolutely beautiful. So my question in any of those situations is, why do we feel the need to put our struggle onto somebody else? Why do we feel the need to put our safety or comfortability, whatever the fuck you want to call it, why do we feel the need to put that onto somebody else? How is that fair? How is that fair for a child to not just be able to think, feel, dream, hope, and even plan, hopefully, for the things that they want to do? How is that fucking fair? So my challenge is, for anyone that says, can I give you some advice? Say, no thank you. Because usually that person is just about to tell the story of their own life in their own way without any kind of consideration as to how you're doing things and saying anything. So the only people that I like to hang around with is people that become curious around my situation. Questions like, oh, what made you want to choose that? Or, you know, what led to this decision? Or how can I help? Which is the most beautiful fucking thing you can ever say to anyone that has an idea, because nothing is impossible, which means that everything is possible and everyone has a chance, you know. If we are breaking the pattern of constantly being taught that we can't do things, then fuck, that's what we're going to see. I'm going through this at the moment. Every day I wake up and I have to do two things to show myself that I can do things that I want to do. And this is due to beautiful patterning of my mother and my stepfather and my dad and my stepmom and anyone else who has an influence on you, which is pretty much anyone. making you question everything you do and thinking it's wrong. So that's where, you know, sometimes it takes a long time for the fuck off to turn to a thank you, because every time you embrace it, or, you know, this person doesn't understand me. They're not there to understand you, you're there to understand you. So what part of you do you need to understand? What part of you do you need to enable to be there? What part of you are you not looking at and saying, I love you? Yeah, so every time I find someone now that is doing something that causes me a little stir inside, I ask myself, what is that? And usually I might see that it's envy or jealousy, right? A little bit of a difference, I'll go into those later, but that feeling that I can't do what they're doing, so I may as well bring them back down to me. Tall poppy syndrome, massive in Australia. I don't understand why people think we're so fucking laid back. We're actually a bunch of small-minded pricks that try and hold on to the little concept of that we're, you know, so fucking remote that we don't really have any bearing on things. This is not a general rule. It's just people that I choose to seek out for some stupid reason. I'm trying to understand why. But the beautiful thing there is I get to be me in every situation, no matter who I show up next to. It's not about what they're doing, it's all about what I choose to do, right? So just be open, be honest with yourself, take the time. If you need to learn how to take the time, then fucking reach out to people that know how to take the time. If you're unsure what you want to do everything. Write a list and do everything, one thing at a time. I promise you that it's going to be much more fruitful with that unfamiliar feeling of backing yourself and being okay with the fact that people aren't going to say good job, because you're going to say good job, because you're going to be able to sit and rest and know that you've applied yourself to it. So please take the time for you. Know that it's not always going to be comfortable. Know that there are people out there that think, like open-minded people that want to see you succeed, because in seeing you succeed, they know it's possible for them to succeed. So find your success, find the little things you want to do every day, reach out if you need any help. But if we want to see a change, then we need to be a change. And as much as people throw that around like fuckheads and then repeat the same fucking process, honestly, if you want to see the change, be the fucking change. If you want to see more love in the world, bring more love to the world. Do not wait for somebody else to give you something that you know you want, because you have the fucking power, I promise you. You have the power to say, no, enough is enough, I'm not enabling this behavior anymore. And the only thing you're doing there is saying you're not enabling yourself to let that go. So stand up, begin enabling great behavior, asking for it, modeling it. And take the time for you to ask some fucking great questions to keep expanding that mindset, because as we ask a question, we grow that mindset, we become more unfamiliar, so we can move towards that uncomfortable feeling that is growth. Allowing yourself to have curiosity and growth is the greatest self-love we can ever give, because you're allowing yourself permission to be you in every moment. So allow yourself permission. Allow that unfamiliar feeling. Take the time to reach out, show some love, show some kindness. Don't do it for them, do it for you. Because at the end of the day, what goes around comes around. Another beautiful saying that people don't quite understand. But if you're making a beautiful choice in every moment, like I did, to live in love and kindness, and then see where that goes, then you'll notice the whole world opens up. It's happening for you, not to you. We are not a victim of our being. We are at, cause and effect, another fucking talk for later on. But please take the time to understand that you are a superhuman, powerful being that is questioning everything, and that is fucking great. And in love and kindness, I say to you, you are enough.